If you work in video production or content creation, the Sony A7S IV is likely a camera you respect, own, or have drooled over at some point. Released back in 2020, it became the gold standard for run-and-gun filmmaking. But 5 years in the tech world is an eternity. While the A7S III is still a workhorse, the whispers about its successor, the A7S IV, have turned into a roar. We have been combing through patent filings, insider leaks, and manufacturing reports to piece together what this next-generation camera will actually look like. If you have been holding onto your wallet, waiting for the next big thing, you are going to want to hear this. Here is everything we know about the Sony A7S IV. For a decade, the S in a 7S stood for sensitivity. To achieve this, Sony historically used low-resolution sensors, 12 megapixels, with huge pixels that could soak up light like a sponge. This made them kings of the dark, but limited them to 4K video. You literally couldn't shoot 6K or 8K because there weren't enough pixels on the sensor to form the image. The strongest leaks suggest Sony is moving to a new, stacked, roughly 24-megapixel sensor, specifically often cited around 20.5 effective megapixels for video. Now, you might be worried. Does more megapixels mean worse low-light performance? Usually, yes. But Sony has a trick up its sleeve called dual-layer transistor pixel technology. Let's break that down into plain English. In a standard camera sensor, the light-gathering part of the photodiode and the transistors fight for space on the same layer of silicon. It's like having a small apartment where your bed and your desk are in the same room. You have less space for both. Sony's new tech builds a second floor. They separate the photodiode and the transistor onto different layers. This means the light-gathering part can take up the entire first floor, doubling its capacity to catch light. The result? You get the higher resolution needed for modern video like 6K without sacrificing the legendary low-light cleanliness the A7S line is famous for. It is the best of both worlds, and it is the kind of hardware leap that justifies a new model number. Because of that new sensor resolution, the video specs are getting a massive overhaul. The headline feature is expected to be 6K open gate recording. If you haven't used open gate before, imagine your sensor is a tall window, but your camera usually only records through a wide letterbox slot in the middle, 16 by 9. Open gate records the whole window. This is a game changer for content creators who need to deliver vertical video for TikTok or Instagram Reels and horizontal video for YouTube from the same shoot. With 6K open gate, you have so much extra room to crop and reframe in post-production without losing quality. We are also expecting 4K at 120 frames per second to remain a staple, but with a crucial difference. On the A7S III, 4K is native. On the A7S IV, the 4K image will likely be oversampled from the 6K sensor. This means the camera captures 6K worth of data and squeezes it down to 4K. The result is a visibly sharper, more detailed image with better color data than a standard 4K capture. Another major improvement tied to the stacked sensor architecture is the readout speed. This controls rolling shutter, that wobbly jello effect you see when you whip the camera around quickly. Stacked sensors read data incredibly fast. The rumors point to the A7S IV having near global shutter performance. This means you can film fast-moving sports or whip pan the camera, and vertical lines will stay perfectly straight. Since the A7S III came out, Sony released a dedicated My AI processing unit. In cameras like the A7R V and the A9 III, it is virtually guaranteed that this chip will be in the A7S IV. This isn't just marketing fluff. The old autofocus looked for eyes and faces. The new AI chip understands human poses. It knows where a human head should be, even if the person turns around, wears a helmet, or walks behind a tree. It can recognize cars, trains, planes, insects, and animals with terrifying accuracy. For a solo shooter, this is peace of mind. You can trust the camera to stick to your subject like glue, letting you focus on framing and lighting. We also expect features like auto-framing, where the camera crops in and follows the subject, and breathing compensation, which fixes the zoom-like effect when changing focus, to be polished and standard in this model. One of the most requested features has been a better screen mechanism, and it looks like Sony is listening. The A7S4 is widely expected to adopt the 4-axis multi-angle LCD found on the A7R5. This is a big deal for usability. Standard flippy screens, fully articulating, are great for vlogging, but they are annoying if you just want to tilt the screen up for a waist-level shot, because the screen has to swing out to the side first. This interferes with HDMI and microphone cables plugged into the side of the camera. The 4-axis design does both. It tilts up and down and flips out to the side. It solves the cable blocking issue completely. It sounds like a small detail, but for a professional on a 10-hour shoot, these quality-of-life changes are what make you love a camera. We also anticipate the electronic viewfinder, EVF, to retain the stunning 9.44 million dot resolution of the predecessor, but potentially with higher brightness and refresh rates, making it easier to check focus manually in bright sunlight. You might be asking, wait, Canon and Nikon have 8K cameras. Why is the A7S4 only 6K? This is a deliberate strategic choice. To shoot 8K, you need a sensor with at least 33 megapixels like the Sony A1 or A7RV. But as we discussed earlier, jamming that many pixels onto a sensor hurts low light performance and dynamic range. It also generates massive amounts of heat. Sony seems to be positioning the A7S4 as a master of 4K rather than a jack of all trades. By sticking to approximately 24 megapixels per 6K, they can offer faster frame rates, better dynamic range, and manageable file sizes. 8K is still overkill for 99% of productions. Most movies you see in theaters are finished in 4K. By skipping the 8K marketing hype, Sony is focusing on what filmmakers actually need: dynamic range, color fidelity, and reliability.